you know, there's not any directors like John Huston around anymore. But nor are there actors like Bob Mitchum. And that whole time, it was a wonderful time that's gone forever.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that's the answer to your question. That was the first time I thought about it, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And did that stick with you?
Oh, of course it stuck with me. It always has for my whole life. I met Bob Mitchum in Canada. We had breakfast together. And he asked me what I wanted to do with myself, and I said I was thinking about being an actor. And he looked across the table at me and said, "Why?" And I thought that was what I would have expected from him, and I was happy that he was that way. I don't think he had any great reverence for what he did, but I think that he also knew, even if he wouldn't admit it, that he knew that he had a contribution to make. And, you know, I mean, I think he sent me off in a good direction.
Well, when was that you met Mr. Mitchum then?
He was working with my sister. He was making a picture with my sister about William Randolph Hearst.
Mm.
My sister was playing Marion Davies, and they were shooting in Canada, and I was an auto mechanic at the time, and I had gone to visit my sister on location because I wanted to meet Robert Mitchum, and that's what that was. There's a great picture of, my sister has a great picture in her house of her and Mr. Mitchum, and he's flipping off the cameraman. It's a very charming picture. It's very funny. In fact, I just did the voiceover for A&E biography on the life of Robert Mitchum, which is very ironic, I think, and very flattering to me that they called me to ask me to do that.
It sounds maybe not ironic, but somehow fitting. In the
Maybe
perspective
so.
that you have of this
so.
man's influence in your life, it sounds perfectly fitting to me.
He made some good pictures, there's no doubt about it, and I would hope to have the longevity that he had, and you know, there's nobody like that around anymore.
So when did you first get an acting job? Or, you know, the first that I can find that in any records that I was able to dig up, which you've pointed out are quite flawed. The first I can find is that you were an apprentice under John Malkovich at the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. Is that
well, I did go to Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago, and I did take some scene study classes there. It wasn't very long. It was much less of a duration than I think that I've read about, but I enjoyed my time there, and I was much more associated with Terry Kinney and Jeff Perry, and we did a production of Mice and Men. I played Carlson, the guy who takes the dog out and, you know, shoots poor Candy's dog, and you know, the dog was really good in that play, as I remember. When I was really spot on with my dialogue, I had to drag the dog off the stage. It wouldn't go with me. It was really very kind of weird. And if I was kind of half-assed about it, he would just trot off stage with me. And he was a good barometer for me. That little dog was a good barometer about whether or not I was being believable and truthful in my intentions toward the dog.
So there's another story that I've caught wind of, though, of your sister taking a video of you explaining, telling a story about a fight that you were in a restaurant, or a couple fights that you were in a restaurant.
My sister had an agent at the time, and I did not, and she was doing a lot of high school theater, and she was in acting classes and doing very well for herself, and I met her agent, and for one reason or another, based on my fantasy of being an actor and my desire to do something else with myself than the things that I was doing. She shot a video of me sitting at a desk, and I told a story about a fight that I got in a restaurant. And, you know, I think that might have been the beginning of my understanding of what that was. But she sent that to New York, and Sergio Leone got a hold of it for some reason. And, you know, the great director of so many films. And he invited me to New York to stay with him for a while and encouraged me to pursue acting as a career.
That's quite an invitation.
It
You
was.
went and did that. How long were you there for, or did you go?
Well, originally I was only supposed to go there for a day, and what happened is that I ended up staying for about 4 days. So it went on a little longer than I anticipated, but it was something I'll never forget, you know? I mean, I'm sad that Sergio passed on and we never got to do anything together. We never got to make a picture together because he was an interesting guy, and, you know, he encouraged me.
The actors will return in a moment. We now return to the actors.
So after visiting in New York, did you make your way to California, or where did the world, where did the universe lead you at that point?
I went back to Chicago, and I was painting houses. I had a house painting business. Mostly I was painting garages. For some reason, I wasn't entrusted with an entire house. And I had a landscaping thing. I had lawnmowers in my 55 Pontiac. And I led people to believe that I had a crew, which I really didn't. And I did most of it by myself. And I couldn't, and I was working in a gas station. I was pumping a lot of gas and changing a lot of tires, and I decided that I figured if I was going to do this thing, then I needed to go where they do it. So I went to Hollywood. I went to California, and I got a job in the Union 76 station in Beverly Hills, Crescent Heights, and full service, which is a thing of the past. But at that time, I took my job very seriously. And in fact, one of my very first customers was Fred Astaire. He came in a Mercedes, and he had a flat tire, and he drove in with the tire flat. And he gave me a $100 bill, and he walked off across the street. I imagine to catch a bus or something. I don't know where he went. But he left his car there and walked off, and you know, I kind of always, it was, you know, for me to come where I come from and from what I was, and for what I still am to a certain extent, that was pretty cool. I mean, that was, you know, with Fred Astaire, man, you know, let's face it. I mean, you know, that was, you know, he, and I went to my boss and I said, what does this guy give me a $100 bill to change the flat? It's $12 to take the tire off and fix it, or put the spare on and put the other one in the trunk. And he said, no, he does that all the time. He said, go ahead and keep it. He said, that's for you, keep it. So I thought, okay, you know, I thought, okay, I'm here now, and that's a good thing. And I worked there for about 9 months, almost a year I worked there.